Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to another edition of Sunday School. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. I know the background's a little inconvenient, kind of looks like a hostage video, but that's because I'm on the road, so I apologize about that. But I still had to get Sunday School done for you guys, so appreciate you guys for joining us. Thanks to our friends over at Duck Camp for sponsoring this episode of Sunday School. We'll tell you a little bit more about them coming up here later on in this episode. But I want to talk about what is near and dear to Sark's heart, something that he started at, hinting at when he had his latest media availability, is getting this offense back to being explosive. I think he talked about it regarding the backfield, but I think he understands that, as a play caller, everybody's got their assets, things they're really good at, things their offense is specifically good at. And honestly, for Sark, I would say that one of maybe his main X-Man ability as a play caller is that his offense generates explosive plays. And I'm talking about 20-plus yard plays, but some people like to define it as 15-plus yard plays. Some people define it as, it's a 10-yard run and it's a 20-yard pass. It all depends on, how your football foundation, right? And how you came up learning football. But I think Mac Brown was famously 15-plus yard pass and a 10-yard run. That was back in the day. But for the sake of our discussion, I'm just going to do 20-plus yard plays because that's what Bill Walsh, the late, great Bill Walsh, in his book, Finding the Winning Edge, he claimed that his research, and he's got some of the best research ever, that said that if you win the explosive play margin by one play, you win the game 60 to 65% of the time. If you win the explosive play margin by two plays, you're winning games 80 to 85% of the time. That's the case, and it makes a lot of sense because his case was that human error is the reason that you need these explosive plays. Humans are too unreliable. We're too fallible. So if you put 11 humans together and try to get 11 humans to execute perfectly on double-digit plays in order to get down into the red zone and score a touchdown, very likely somebody, one of those 11, they're going to screw it up. They're going to have a penalty. They're going to miss a block. They're going to miss an assignment, bad throw, drop, a missed block, whatever it is. The other guy just makes a play. All right. And so in order to shrink the margin of error, you need explosive plays. And for Sark, that's why I think Sark is, and I believe Sark has kind of built his offense to generate explosive plays. But his offenses don't do a ton of things well critically. Right? Let's just look at, we talked about this on Football Theory with my man Jeff, but you can think about it for Sark, the critical moments of football, third down, and play callers break these critical situations down into different play groupings: third and short, third medium, third and long. Got my plays for just them situations. Got plays for fourth down. Got plays for goal line. Got plays for short yardage. Got plays for red zone, high red, low red, right? You got all these different ways to break down your playbook because football comes down to these critical situations, to be clutch in critical moments. And you, as a play caller, want to be able to give your team a schematic conceptual advantage in those moments. And the truth is, as much as we love Sark's offense is post Bijan, pretty much. It's kind of, they can draw the line. They're not great in critical moments at all. They're not. Third down, we talked about it. Third down, 23, you were 38%. Last year, you were 39%. You were 42% in 2024, which was pretty good. That was 42nd, but nothing elite. The last time you elite in your third down offense, you got to go all the way back to your time at Alabama in 2020. You were the best third down offense in the country. 2019, you were the third best third down offense in the country. Now, you were at the GOAT to help mentor you. You had the best athletes in the country, the best, most talented offense in the country. So all those things helped. But red zone, you go look at Sark's red zone offense. Last time he had elite red zone offense, 2021 at Texas, fourth in red zone offense and touchdown percentage in the red zone. So, and that's obviously that was before he built up the program in his image. Now your red zone offense is, it's okay. It's average to below average, 61st and 49th in touchdown percentage in red zone. Nothing impressive. Those are critical areas. And you're not great, but Sark is known as one of the best play callers in college football, but it's not in for these critical areas. Right? Quarterback development is one of the reasons. I think one of his X-Man abilities as a play caller. But I also think generating explosive plays. Like I said, short yardage. Has Sark's offense been good in short yardage? Nope. Had he been good in goal line? Nope. Not really good in any of those things. What Sark's offense has been really good at is generating explosive plays. If you go look at the last, and I track these guys. You go look at the last 7 years. All right, go all the way back to 2019. The last 7 years, 4 of the last 7 years, he's had a top 10 offense in generating explosive plays. He hasn't tracked that same way in critical areas, but that's okay because explosive plays is the cheat code. The great Bill Walsh said the best third down call is the one you don't have to make. Same thing with red zone. So you have these very obviously crucial areas of the game where you need to, at least in one or two of those areas, excel. And Texas hadn't really excelled in those areas, but they had explosive plays. What happened last year was you were 50th in the country in explosive plays, and you still weren't good in these critical areas. And then that's why you saw the inconsistency of the offense. That's why Sark's like, I got to get back to explosive plays. That's what I do. I'm not good. I'm not a tactician. Sark's not a tactician necessarily a strategist. He's necessarily great at being a tactician in those critical moments. What Sark is really good at is dialing up and scheming up big chunk yardage plays. And that's what he's got to get back to. Now, I do think Sark's got to improve as a tactician and a strategist. Right. That's we talk about, breaking tendency at the right time, and other teams that have beaten him, they've broken tendency, right? When they need to, whether it be at Ohio State or whether it be at Georgia. That's being a tactician. Sark's got to figure that out. He's working on it. He's getting better at that. But I think where Sark is, he's a big game hunter. He doesn't want your quail. He don't want the doves. He doesn't want to go rabbit hunting. No, he's going to go on the African plains, and he's trying to take down some big game, some big cats. Some Cape Buffalo. That's what he's good at, and I think that's what he was hinting at in the media availability. So I wouldn't, obviously we've talked about Sark in all these critical areas, and how they need to get better, and I think they will get better and need to. Red zone is probably where I can see them improve the most, just because Arch he's mobile, he's physical. And with his ability to truly be a dual threat quarterback and his scrambling ability, I think Texas red zone, if I could project in those critical areas where Texas might, excel next season, maybe red zone would be the one I would throw out there. I would predict. But like I said, right now, that's not the case. But what they are good at is generating. Sark is good at generating explosive plays, and now he's got explosive weapons. Got Cam Coleman, got Hollywood Smothers, got Raleek Brown. You got Ryan Wingo there as well as your number 2 now. You got Emmett Mosley, a big slot. I think he's going to go big game hunting again. And, one of the things I looked at, how important these explosive plays are to Sark. It's interesting. So I started looking at score rate, touchdown rate, points per drive. And essentially looked at only your power 4 teams. I didn't bother with the teams that are not power 4. Nothing against them, but they distort my sample size usually. And wanted to look at what's your score rate, touchdown rate, and your points per drive with an explosive play, and what they look like without an explosive play. And I'm going to tell you, I was a little blown away I knew it would be different. I just didn't realize it'd be such a Grand Canyon-sized gap between the Texas offense with an explosive play and without an explosive play, because it's hard to just put together a sustained drive. Think about, you're one of the most penalized teams in college football. You also allowed some of the most tackles for loss. You had some of the most, I believe Texas was, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say you were 9th in yards lost to penalties and to tackles for loss in the country. You're talking about yards lost. I once had questioned that stat not too long ago. My point is you lost a lot of yardage. So you would end up behind the chains a ton. You didn't have an elite running game. So hard for you to put together a long sustained drive with minimal gains. All right. Need the chunk yardage. So versus Power 4 teams this season, Texas, when they didn't have an explosive play, a 20-plus yard play, or of any kind, run or pass, the score rate was 21%, basically. Your score rate was 20, you scored 21% of the time. Your touchdown rate was hovering around 10%. You're about 10% touchdown rate. And you scored 1 point per drive, basically, when you didn't have an explosive play. To put that into perspective, I looked at points per drive, all right, across college football. And if you look at the teams that are 1 point per drive or in that category, Oklahoma State was 1.08 points per drive, 134th scoring offense. Charlotte was 0.93, 133rd in scoring offense. UMass was 0.97, they were 137th in scoring offense. Oregon State was 1.01, they were 125th in scoring offense. Ball State was 1.17, they were 132nd in scoring offense. Syracuse 1.21, they were 118th in scoring offense. Wisconsin 1.11, they were 135th in scoring offense. You get the point. Basically, when Texas didn't have an explosive play, you are one of the worst offenses in the country. You're in that discussion when you did not generate explosive play. But when you did generate explosive play, just at least one 20-plus yard play on the drive, your score rate goes to above 70%, and your touchdown rate is above 50%. So you're scoring a touchdown more than 50% of the time when you have any explosive play. You're scoring over 70% of the time, and you're over 4 points per drive. Now, to put that into perspective, points per drive. North Texas, 3.79. Indiana, 3.46. Notre Dame, 3.70. Oregon, 3.25. Nobody was at 4. That's how good your offense is. You'd have the best offense in the country when you generate explosive plays. When you don't generate explosive plays, you have arguably the worst offense in the country. It's just that simple for them. Got to get back to the explosive plays. If Sark becomes a better tactician and strategist in critical moments, then great. I think he's fine now. It's not like this a weakness or anything, but it's not necessarily a strength for him. What is a strength for him? We talked about this, generating explosive plays. He's fantastic at working with QBs, quarterback development. I think he schemes receivers open really, really well. Like literally, so he can just, they can just stockpile and chunk a lot of targets at the number one guy. He does it in a lot of creative ways to get his number one guy on the football, and he's done it exactly worthy. We've seen it with Matthew Golden late and Ryan Wingo. But I think one of the things he's got to improve on is the critical moments. But one thing he's proven, he's one of the best in the country at generating explosive plays with his play calls, play designs, and also that he's one of the best play designers in college football. Like his play designs are brilliant. They're beautiful. They think of beauty, man. It's an art form watching the play designs from the All 22. But Texas has got to get back to what is at the heart of Sark's offenses: explosive plays. Period. So there you go. That's my spiel, if you will, about Texas at explosive plays. Let's thank our friends over at Duck Camp before we end today's program. Duck Camp makes gear for folks who live for being out there, whether that's in a duck blind at sunrise or on the 40 acres for a Saturday kickoff. Born right here in Austin, Duck Camp builds best-in-class hunting and fishing apparel that works just as well for a full day in the field as it does for a long day of tailgating. From sun protection shirts that keep you cool during those early season scorchers to their iconic game series hats that feel like instant classics. Duck Camp gear is ready for football season, hunting season, and every season in between. Get out there and stay out there and hook 'em horns and shop Duck Camp at duckcamp.com. All right, thank you to our friends at Duck Camp. Thanks to each and every one of you for watching and for listening. Thanks for your patience. Like I said, I'll be back at the crib pretty soon. But thanks to Matthew behind the scenes. Nobody does it better. For Matthew, for our friends at Duck Camp, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.